President Donald Trump combative in wide-ranging CPAC speech. Tassis Catapodis/Getty Images. President Donald Trump speaks during CPAC 2019 on March 2, 2019, in National Harbor, Maryland. The American Nicholas Com/Agence France Presse via Getty Images. President Donald Trump hugs the U.S. flag as he arrives to speak at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference CPAC in National Harbor, Maryland, on March 2, 2019. Nicholas Com/Agence France Presse via Getty Images. President Donald Trump speaks during the annual Conservative Political Action Conference CPAC in National Harbor, Maryland, on March 2, 2019. Tassis Catapodis/Getty Images. President Donald Trump speaks during CPAC 2019 on March 2, 2019, in National Harbor, Maryland. The American by Seung-Min Kim and Brian Fung. The Washington Post. Oxon Hill, MD. President Donald, in his remarks at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, which stretched beyond 2 hours, Trump also mocked the Green New Deal promoted by liberals to address climate change, disparaged his former Attorney General Jeff Sessions with a faux Southern accent, and defended his move to declare a national emergency to secure money for his U.S.-Mexico border wall that was denied by Congress. You know, I don't know, maybe you know. You know, I am, but the Russia probe and those leading it drew the biggest ire and even profanity from the president, as investigations ramp up in Congress and Special Counsel Robert Mueller continues his probe into potential collusion between Trump associates and Moscow. So now they go and morph into, let's inspect every deal he's ever done, Trump complained. Nicknaming House, noting that you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, Trump added, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there, and all of a sudden they are trying to take you out with bulls, okay? Trump said. Now Robert Mueller never received a vote, and neither did the person who appointed him, the president said. Trump's speech, zigzagging from trade to immigration, the 2016 campaign to last fall's midterm elections, came against the backdrop of the collapse of his summit with North Korea and the extraordinary congressional testimony from his former personal lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen. Cohen testified in detail about how Trump manipulated financial records and learned of WikiLeaks' efforts to dump damaging information on Hillary Clinton in advance. Trump mentioned his call during the 2016 campaign for Russia to hack into Clinton's emails, although he suggested that he was being sarcastic at the time and criticized the news media for coverage of those remarks. Few targets were spared in Trump's wide-ranging speech, which included jabs at various unnamed Republican senators. Where do these people come from? His potential we have a gentleman who likes raising interest rates, a gentleman who likes quantitative tightening, said Trump. Can you imagine? Trump has repeatedly slammed Powell for raising interest rates too quickly. Powell has said the rate. He also dismissed one prominent argument from Republicans on his recent decision to declare a national emergency to redirect federal funds for his border wall. While GOP, they're gonna do that anyway, folks, Trump said. The best way to Trump mocked the Green New Deal's climate-related provisions, deriding the plan as promoting no planes, no energy. When the wind stops blowing, that's the end of your electric, Trump said, before launching into an impression. Darling, is the key planks of the liberal platform call for renewed investments in energy and transportation alternatives. While a fact sheet, Trump also announced that he would sign a new executive order to make federal research funding for colleges and universities contingent on their support for free speech. The move appeared to be, if they want our dollars, and we give it to them by the billions, they've got to allow people like Hayden and many great young people, and old people, to speak, Trump said, bringing on stage a young conservative, Hayden Williams, who was physically attacked last month while lobbying for a conservative organization at UC Berkeley. Ahead of Saturday's conference, Trump dealt with a chaotic and tumultuous week even by his own standards. Negotiations in Hanoi, Vietnam, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un proved inconsequential, with the White House saying it could not accede to Kim's demands that the United States end all economic sanctions in exchange for closing just one nuclear facility. The North Koreans, though he was largely praised for walking away from a potentially bad deal with Kim, Trump ignited another furor when he said in Hanoi that he took the North Korean leader at his word when he denied knowing about the treatment of Otto Warmbier, the American college student who died in 2017 upon returning to the United States after being detained in Pyongyang the year before. Warmbier's parents issued a statement in response saying Kim and his evil regime were responsible for their son's death, and Trump later clarified on Twitter, saying of course I hold North Korea responsible for Otto's mistreatment and death. 2 hours into his CPAC speech, Trump brought up the North Korea talks, declaring his affection for the Warmbiers and talking about the very, very delicate balance of the nuclear negotiations. "We made a lot of progress," Trump said, noting a very good meeting and saying North Korea has an incredible, brilliant future. Get Morning Report and other email newsletters.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.